What is home? Home is a place, usually. Where you live, maybe? Is home a place, or is it a feeling? Or is it a person, a group of people? If you ask me, home has always been a confusing, intangible thing to define. I've always referred to places as my home. Home is Mauritius. Home is Hong Kong. Home is Enschede. When I was little, I remember standing in the parking lot of my friends' houses and talking about how I would live in Mauritius forever, or at least until I was 18. I thought I'd be home until I had to leave for uni or a job, and I would turn 18 and take my friends to the disco and treat them all to drinks. I thought I'd be with Shreya and Gia and Tharani until forever, and that they were my best friends forever, and I would never find such friendship again. We moved to different houses in Mauritius, so there was never one place that we stayed in for more than a few years. I remember the first house, but I don't remember the address. At some point, I could name you every single address we lived at and my parents' phone numbers in Mauritius, even after we'd long left the country. Then, the addresses faded away, and I could remember the names of nearby locations that I knew the way to, like the pool where I swam for so many years. Now, I can't even tell you what any of those places were called either. If you took me back, I think I could take you to my house and the pool and my primary school and my friends' houses like I still lived there. The first house was actually the second house I lived in, a 2-story cozy place. I remember the backyard with tiles that looked like sand, where we had my 4th birthday that was jungle-themed. I dressed as an elephant. The gate outside, though, we had to open manually and somehow got painted black overnight. I remember the sofas we had that started off in a light blue floral leather fabric. I remember my parents and I picking a deep blue fabric with gold details to reupholster the sofas, and suddenly we had new sofas. I remember the roof, where I wasn't really allowed to go because I was little and it was dangerous, but it had a fence that matched the gate. There was a little landing at the door to the roof, and the door was made of glass and let in sunlight and warmth even when closed. I remember maybe sitting in front of the door and the stroller that was stored there. It was my older cousin's, and then her little brother used it, and then I did, and then my little brother, until it got passed on to someone else that I don't remember. On the first floor, right after the stairs, is where God was. In that house, I prayed for a little sibling, and also woke up on the 27th of April 2012 to my parents gone, my aunt telling me that the baby was on the way, and being so excited. I had my own bedroom there, even though I didn't sleep in my own room yet. But my house had a vanity where I kept my little things, and my own big bed and the pink Minnie Mouse curtains that my mom still has. There were other houses too, like the only house that was entirely just the ground floor, and I became friends with my neighbor Samia. She had a pool, and instead of chlorine, they used salt in it. Every Eid, her and her mom would come over with sweets and snacks for us, and I loved them. I went to her house once and had mac and cheese and ended up with the worst food poisoning I've had to this day. This was the last house that I lived in, which was a literal mansion in my eyes. We had like 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, 2 kitchens. Why? And I even had 2 bedrooms. When it was just me and my family in the house with no guests, we slept on the ground floor, and when guests or my grandparents came to visit, we moved to our upstairs rooms. My upstairs room was really scary to me at the time. I had these blue curtains that looked straight out of a haunted Victorian mansion. I had my own bathroom attached to the bedroom, and I even had a balcony to go out onto. Oh, and a skylight. I remember studying for my year 6 exams in that room, learning about LCM and HCF. When it got dark and scary, I looked up at the stars through the skylight. That house also had a massive back and front yard where in the summer me and my brother ate lychees and the juice ran down our arms until we were sticky. It was also where we had our going away and everyone came to say goodbye to us. We hugged and we cried and we made our way to the airport. And then came Hong Kong. I was so sure for the first year that Hong Kong could never be my home. Mauritius would always have my heart. I was 12 when I moved there and 17 when I moved away. Somewhere in that time, Hong Kong really became home. It's the place where I learned independence, being able to travel and take the train on my own. I hang out with my friends a lot. We just went to the mall and got Starbucks or went window shopping or to the grocery store to get bakery items to bring to the park where we sat for hours and hours until it got dark. Somewhere there, I turned 16 and had thoughts and emotions and real big girl feelings. At my friend Max Radigan's house, on the new year of 2020, I realized I had a crush on a boy and I told him. I remember hanging out with him lots and how we were best friends and it was so easy. I remember the first time I went to the club underage and the thrill it brought us to be able to go out like the big kids. There was 68 Ewell Street, or as Gail and I called it, 69 Yee, where we sat and drank our first Smirnoff Ices and tried a cigarette together. Not big fans of those at the time. It felt incredibly illegal, probably because it was. I remember the crushing, panicking moment when I realized that my best friend had gone with the boy I had liked for years. I remember what heartbreak could be in Hong Kong. I experienced it in Victoria Park during the Lantern Festival. It's also where I discovered my parents are actually incredibly chill people to like a concerning degree. I was 16 and my friend Nico was over for dinner and we went to my room to watch a movie. The door closed and locked and my mom did not say anything about it. In fact, she knocked and waited for me to open the door to ask us if we needed anything before she went to bed and to wish us a good night. Very confusing moment in her life, to be honest. Like, aren't parents supposed to be against closed doors and stuff? Hong Kong is also where I went to high school and faced dropping grades for the first time. I did the International Baccalaureate there and stressed and slaved away at my visual arts portfolio. I went to an outside studio run by a lovely English lady named Gail. She taught me a new perspective on my art and how it doesn't have to be perfect. I learned to rip up and destroy my work so I could build it up once again and better. I also learned how to draw from life at the studio. I really knew at that moment that art was what I wanted to do and what I was meant to do for at least this period of my life. I think Hong Kong is a place I romanticize a lot. I often say that I peaked in high school, but that's just because everything was just always correct there. In the way that I had my best friends and I had school and I had structure, nothing was a surprise, there was never any big new things to navigate, everything was just kind of serene. And then came time for the IB exams and university applications. Shit hit the fan. All that serenity, gone. Fine art being my calling? Nope, I decided to apply for and pursue art history at Leiden University. So here's my third home. Leiden, the place where I discovered what it was to be an adult, even though I was only 17. Leiden was a transition from living at home with my parents and never being too far away from them for too long, to being thrust into my own apartment with a housemate and new friends. I don't think Leiden ever felt like home. It didn't feel bad in any way. I loved my place and my friends. But it never felt like a place I could go back to. I spent that year really happy, but subconsciously trying to find a way out. Come December of 2022, I knew I couldn't stay. School was good, but art history just wasn't for me at the time. I loved the academics and research, but it was just too rigid for me. My friends were all archaeologists, and I only had a couple of friends in my course. But how I love my silly archaeologists dearly. Leiden itself never felt like home, but home was there. My best friend Gail was also studying in Leiden with me, and she was, and still is, my home away from home. When shit hit the fan, again around December of 2022, she was a safe space. I could go to her house for the week or the weekends and just stay there. We didn't even have to do anything special or plan activities or anything. We just sat around on her couch and did work or watched TikToks, and we were just together. She was my home in Leiden. Even if I wasn't at her house, she was always right there with me, if not physically, then on text or FaceTime or phone call. I really think that things would have been a lot worse if she wasn't there for me and with me. I never have to explain what I'm feeling or apologize for the way that I am, and she lets me feel and be whoever I want, or I am. Leiden wasn't all bad, though. I got to go clubbing for the first time there as an adult. I got to explore my sexuality and make such deep friendships. I also have family there and the friends that I made. We chose to be with each other, and I experienced so many firsts with them in the most safe setting imaginable. And now, Enschede. This place feels like home. I don't live in a student flat anymore. I have a big girl apartment with a TV and an oven and a dining table. We have a dishwasher and a landlord that we can contact when things break in our house. We buy groceries to put in our big fridge, and this house is so full of love. I love my 5 friends, and I can never really get sick of them. I found people that understand me in ways that I did not know could exist. I can express how I feel without feeling shame or feeling like I'm too much. Enschede is a confusing place for me. It's starting to feel more like home than my parents' house in Hong Kong. It's a guilty feeling when I go to the end of my vacations in Hong Kong or India, and all I want to do is to go back home to my house and my friends. There's a lot more I could say about Enschede, I'm sure, but I think I'm just still kind of discovering what home is here, and kind of still marveling that I hit such a jackpot. So, what is home? Home to me has always been my loved ones, the time I spend with them and around them, and it's always been a bit of a questioning feeling when people ask me where home is. I know growing up, when I moved from Mauritius to Hong Kong and then Hong Kong to the Netherlands, my friends and family would ask me which place was my favorite. That was such an awkward question, but I think I can say that right now, Enschede is my home in a physical sense, my favorite place to be. But home is also Hong Kong, where I can go to my parents and my brother at just the right time, when things are getting rough and I can be comfortable back home. Home is also Leiden, where I can go to Gil's on the weekends when I get just a little bit homesick. Home is the people that I love and that love me back. Home to me is feeling understood and taken care of and seen and wanted and cared for.